Hello Year 7s, this video is about the health and safety workshop booklet that you will need to complete for product design. You can either use this video as a reminder of work that we've already done in class, or it can also be used if you have missed this lesson at school and you need to try and get caught up. You'll need to be on your product design page. I'm in the 7E product design, but again each of the Year 7 pages will be roughly the same. You'll need to go to the workshop safety unit of work, click on that, and then on the right hand side you should see the Year 7 health and safety booklet. This is a PowerPoint file, and clicking on this will download that file to your computer. Now it'll download to your downloads folder on both Windows and Mac depending what you're using, and it's strongly suggested you then get that file and copy it to a folder on OneDrive where you should be keeping all your work to make sure it's as safe as possible. But wherever you do decide to store this file, you then just need to open it. So you should receive something like this. As with all Windows and Microsoft products, you might get a message up the top. This time I have not, but you might get a message saying you need to enable editing. And if you do, please click on enable. Otherwise, you won't be able to change anything in this file. It is perfectly safe to click that button. Now the first page is fairly straightforward. You need to put your full name in here, so I will put mine in if I knew how to spell my name that was. And in my class at least, we make a slight change to this file and we change it from the mentor group to our class group. And our class group is the same code that we see on our timetable. So it's going to be something like PRDE in capitals, which stands for product design, 07 because it's a Year 7 group, and a lowercase a, b, c, d, e, etc. for the actual group. So depending on what your group is, so again, I was in the 7E group page, so I'll pretend to be that class again. So I'm going to do PRDE 07 and an E. So just copy the code that is on your timetable. In page 2 or slide 2, we're asked to identify hazards from this little picture up the top. And the way we're going to do that is firstly to identify a hazard and type it down the bottom, and then we're going to put a matching label up the top. And again, I'm going to demonstrate a way to do that now, and you can follow in the same fashion, or you can choose to take another path or another way that you know how to do. So let's take the idea of this person swinging on their chair as our first health and safety hazard. So let's call it swinging on chair. Now make sure that you type correctly, so look out for spelling mistakes, use full stops and capital letters correctly. All work that we do should always be presented in the best way that it can. So this is going to be number 1. So what I'd like to do is put a little icon or label up here that says this is number 1 to make it easy to match the picture to the wording. So the way I'd like to do that is to use a shape with some text inside it. So I'm going to go to the insert menu of my PowerPoint. I'm going to then choose the shapes option, and I'll choose to use a circle or oval, and I'm simply going to draw one in that general location. Once I have my shape and I've got it selected still, I'm going to use the right click on my mouse. You can do that with a 2-finger click on your trackpad as well. And there are also other ways you can get to this step, but I'm basically going to get this menu to pop up, and I'm then going to use the edit text option. And that allows me to now type in that box. I'm just going to type the number 1. So I can now clearly see I've got a 1 next to that part of the picture, which makes it clear that that refers to this bit of text. Let's say I've got a number 2, so we'll press enter on our text and have number 2, and I'm going to talk about this person running on the far right hand side. So I'm just going to put running in the workshop as the issue, and of course I now need a number 2 over near this person. Now I could do the whole steps again, so insert shape, pick the shape, draw it out, etc. But I'm going to save myself a bit of time, and I'm simply going to choose any of the ones I've done, which so far is only one of them, and I'm simply going to copy and paste. And again, there are many ways you can copy and paste. Use whichever method you prefer. But all I need to do once I've copied and pasted my circle is just change that text now to be the number 2 and keep going. So you can find as many dangers and hazards as you can in this picture and just label them all to match down the bottom. You might need to put a second text box or area to type, because it looks like you can probably fit maybe 10 or so going down here, but if you add some extra boxes in, you can probably fit 30 or so dangers in here. I don't expect you to find 30, but there are quite a few if you try. Let's look at page 3. Page 3, we need to type in the words to fill in the gaps that make these sentences correct based on what we talked about in class. If you weren't in class, I'm sure you could probably work out what most of these are, but if not, wait till you're back in class again and we can go through these. But I'll give you a clue. The first one is wear and something that starts with an A during practical activities, and that's going to be apron. So we're simply going to click on there and fill in the rest of the word so that the sentence now makes sense. You might find sometimes that you have to delete some of these extra spaces so that when they go into a second line, that things line up properly. But other than that, it's a fairly straightforward task. The second part of this page asks you to look at these safety signs and write a sentence for what they mean. Again, you can probably work out what most of these are. You can also look them up online. They are standard symbols that you can find all over the place. Or again, you can wait till you're in class again and ask for some assistance. But again, it's just typing in what you believe the answer is. Page 4 asks you to take these words down the bottom to label the different parts of the disc sander. Now again, we will have gone through this in class and you can probably work them out, but if not, you can always ask for some assistance. In this case, my suggested way of completing this is not to try and put the words up here, of course you can, but instead to add the number down to the words. So I'll give you a hint. This big thing at the back, okay, this is the motor and it's number 7. So what I'm suggesting is you come down here to the word motor and put the number 7 before it. And you do the same for in front of each of the different words, and that will work out the same way as labeling. But if you would prefer to put the word up the top, then you are welcome to do so. Number 2, 3, and 4, you can fill those in again. Have a go, have a think about the issues, and if you're getting stuck, of course, you can ask for some help back at school. Moving down to page 5, it's a little bit like the first question where we have to find the dangers between the two pictures. So the diagram on A, on the left hand side, these people are not using the equipment very safely at all, and we've got basically the same situation in diagram B, but now everything's being done properly. So here we want to not so much write out what they are, but we just want to highlight what the problems are. The way I'm going to suggest and demonstrate is to simply circle those issues. But again, you can do it in a different way if you think that's suitable. But let me demonstrate. So again, I'm going to be using the shape. So this time I'm still going to go to the insert menu, shapes, and I'll still use a circle. And I'm going to draw the circle over in diagram A, the thing that I think is a problem. So I'm going to take this hamburger because he's daydreaming about his lunch, I assume his hamburger, basically not paying attention to what he should be doing. So this is definitely a problem. So I'm going to draw my circle over that. The problem is my circle is filled in, so I can't see the hamburger anymore. So what I need to do is format or change the format of that circle to make it see-through, to have no color inside. And if you've never done that before, there's a few ways as usual. But again, I'm going to be using my right click. So just like before, if you've got a mouse, you can right click or you can do a 2-finger click on your mouse pad. But you want to get the menu back. You want to do format shapes. A format means to change the way something looks. And then you're looking for this pop-up menu and you want to change the fill. So you want to say no fill available. You can see now that that circle can be seen through. While I'm here, I might actually change the line as well, and instead of it being a blue line by default in my case, I'm going to change that to a red line to make it really stand out. And so now I have a circle around the issue, and again, just like before, if I see a new issue, so here is another issue down the bottom where we've got a clamp just lying around there. So instead of doing all those steps again, like before, I'm just simply going to choose my example one I've already done, bring it down here, and I might adjust the size of it just to fit a bit better, and whoops, put it in the right spot, not grabbing the whole picture of course, and just do that. So same as before, just copy and paste to create more circles already formatted the way you want, to highlight as many issues as you can. You don't have to show them in diagram B because we're looking at the comparison. It's a bit like one of those find the differences between two pictures. What the problems on the left-hand side compared to on the right-hand side. And the last slide to do, not much on the page because you're going to upload something here. So you need to design a safety poster for the workshop. Now, that can be almost anything you want. So you can think about maybe one of the rules that we've talked about, one of the pieces of equipment that we've looked at, or that we have in the shop. It could be almost anything that you feel relates to safety in a workshop, in our school workshop, and you can create a little poster about that. So you might be talking a little bit about how to use it safely. You might want to talk about some of the dangers or the safety equipment that you need for that piece of equipment, or something to watch out for, but design something that is interesting to look at and has some information on it about whatever topic you chose. If you're really stuck for an idea, then I strongly suggest go back to page number 3, take one of these rules that we came up with and find an interesting way to show that rule for the class. So you might have the words on there as well as some images that help to make that rule stand out. If you'd like to use things like Canva and stuff like that, you're welcome to, but you need to be able to get it from that system, however you decide to design it, and you need to be able to put a picture of it in here to hand in later on. So if you decide to draw it in real life, you'll get pens and pencils out, then you might need to be able to take a photo of it to stick into this slide. If you create it in another program, you might be able to do a screenshot or save it to put into this slide, but you'll need to be able to get the actual picture. You can't give me a link to something or hand in a piece of paper later on. It has to be able to get into slide number 6 here to be handed in back at school. Again, if you're having trouble with that, please have a chat to me or your teacher as soon as possible so we can help you avoid some of those problems. Okay, that is a reasonably quick, I know it's almost 12 minutes, but a reasonably quick summary of this entire task. In most cases, we'll have gone through all of this in class and answered most of it, with just a small amount being for homework, such as the poster. But if you have missed a class, as I said, this might help you to get most of it completed and just follow up with me or your teacher for some additional help on those questions that you found a bit harder. So good luck with that, and we will see you in the next class.